Hi everyone. Today we will discuss new media and the Indian perspective. So we will talk about history of computing in India, the history of internet worldwide, and how the internet looks from the telecom perspective, and also a bit of new media in education in India. So we will start with history of computing in India in the uh, last 6 decades which we have. In the 1950s, we have the Irctc 2M installed in Indian Statistical Institute, Calcutta, which was the first one for calculations in machine language. And at the same time, at TIFR Mumbai, which is the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, we had the TIFR AC machine, which was installed. In the same decade, we had Jadavpur University, Calcutta, collaborating with ISI Calcutta, and we had this ISI JU project, which was introduced to make transitorized computers for the first time in India. And very interestingly, IBM started making punching machines in India as early as 1950s. In the next decade, which is the 1960s, we have the IBM 1620 machine installed in IIT Kanpur. It was the first machine which started using the Fortran language, and also the Computer Society of India was registered in Hyderabad. In the 1960s, late 1960s, India's first software company, Tata Consultancy Services, which was by the Tata Sons, was established in Mumbai, and it started with IBM 1401 machine. In the next decade, which is the 1970s, the Department of Electronics was established by the Government of India, and SEEBS, which is Santa Cruz Electronic Export Promotion Zone, was established in Mumbai. In the same decade, in IIT Kanpur, the first batch of BTech Computer Science started. IBM closed its operations in India in the 1970s, and very interestingly, in the same decade, TCS had its first office outside of India in New York for software export. In the 1980s, the other Indian giant, Infosys, was established, and during this decade, there were a lot of private computer training schools which opened up, apart from the government and the semi-government ones. So NIIT was one which was very important at that time, which started its private computer training schools. The Department of Telecommunication was established in the 1980s. It is very important in today's parlance because telecommunication has gone into a new paradigm shift altogether in post-2000. But in 1980, the Department of Telecommunication was first established. In line with that, VSNL, which was a government organization, was set up for overseas communications, and India's software services export amount reached USD 100 million. In the 90s, which is just the decade after that, which also aligns with the economic revolution in India in a lot many sense, the government monopoly on telecommunication ends. So what it means is that private companies were allowed to start mobile communication services. That's how Command and Airtel started. Command became Hutch, and then it now is known as Vodafone. And then Tata and Reliance and everyone else followed. In the same 90s, Rediff.com was established, and this was the first e-commerce portal in India. Software export multiplied 10 times in this decade. From USD 100 million, it became 1 billion. The railway reservation system became computerized, and internet was introduced in 1995, August 15th, in Lakshminagar, Delhi. In same August 1995, the Chief Minister of West Bengal at that time, Mr. Jyoti Basu, made the first call to Union Telecom Minister Sukram using a mobile phone. 16 years later, the 4G services were launched first time by Airtel in Calcutta. Post 2000, if we look into the internet-based booking of tickets in Indian Railways, Indian IT companies are now in 52 countries all over the world. The number of employees in IT industry has crossed 10 million in India. 3G and 4G telecom spectrum bidding had happened, and every day we are getting new technologies in telecom. If we look at the forecast and the prediction, then we have a figure of 236 million mobile internet users by end of 2016. So in 1 year, we are expecting that figure will go to 236 million, which is a huge number. If we now look into the history of internet worldwide and how it evolved, then in the 1960s, we had the ARPANET, which was the fast networking system as such. In the 1970s, we have the email and the Project Gutenberg in 1971. So Project Gutenberg was a free domain space for a lot of books and written material. You can think that as a predecessor of the e-books which we find available over the internet. The TCP/IP, the term internet, was coined in the same decade of 70s. The modem was introduced in that same time, and Usenet, which was a communication or a discussion board sort of over the internet, was introduced in the 70s. In the 1980s, we have the domain name service, and that is basically typing names or words in the URL instead of typing just the numbers. And we had IRC, which was the relay chat. So that is a predecessor of the chat engines which we have today. The first emoticon in the form of a smiley was introduced after a message in 1980s. And the World Wide Web was formed in the late 1980s. In the 1990s, we had the first website, which was created as early as 1991. And then there are a lot of very important and influential online companies which started their journey in the 1990s. We had Yahoo, which started off in the mid-90s. The Internet Explorer was one of the oldest browsing engines which we had. Netscape Navigator. Then Amazon was there. Amazon started off in the mid-90s. eBay was another company which started off. These are all big online merchants which all started off in the mid-90s. The first public email system, Hotmail, came up in the late 90s. And the father of all search engines, Google, started off in 1998. The decade of 2000, we had that dot-com bubble which actually burst. But nonetheless, we had very important few events which had happened in the 2000s. For example, Wikipedia. Wikipedia was one source of information which was not there before 2001. So we had this enormous source of information in Wikipedia. So whatever information you want, almost everything, you will get a page in Wikipedia. Facebook, which has almost become identical to our day-to-day life, started off in 2004 in a different way, and it evolved over a period of time, as you see today. YouTube, Twitter are all started off in 2000. We had the mobile web. So now you can find that how the internet is getting into the mobile space. So the mobile web started off in late 2000s. Cloud computing, another very interesting term which is available everywhere, is started off in 2000. And then Google Docs. Google Docs is one which actually had this web-based storage of documents. So that also became very popular. So you can actually store all your documents which you are sharing across in your mails in Google Docs. Now, post 2010, we have the Instagram, which is again mostly a picture sharing platform for everyone. We have seen Google Glass, and there were some technological changes, like we initially had IP addresses in version 4, but now there are so many websites, so many addresses, so we have now IPv6. We are wearing smartwatches, fitness tracker brands, so all these are looking forward in the future. And also in the social and real space, we have seen how mass protests are getting constructed using Facebook communities, multiple Facebook communities, and so on. So beyond just the entertainment part, internet is providing a lot of democratic space, not only for entertainment but also for certain other serious matters. So if we now think of some of the prominent websites which are there in India, then we have Flipkart, which was founded in 2007, and it is one of the biggest e-commerce sites which we know. It has a website version, and also it is there on the mobile apps, which we all know. Then Rediff was one of the earliest, or probably the first, news website. Also had a lot of other entertainment and shopping portals associated with it. Started off in 1996. Then we have the Irctc, which is actually railway reservation and ticketing website through which we can book tickets for all the train services within India. Now it is giving options for flights and hotels as well. In 1997, Naukri.com started off. This was the first job portal which was for Indians and made in India. Make My Trip started off in 2000, which is basically a travel website. So you can book your travels, plan your travels using Make My Trip. Just Dial is one website which is more like the traditional yellow pages, where you get all information about the different services, and those information can be sent to you via email or can be sent to you across to your phone as an SMS service. And then there was SlideShare, which was a slide hosting software, or a website rather, and that was launched in 2006, but it has been now taken over by LinkedIn in 2012. Apart from having a lot of websites as part of the internet boom which had happened in India, at the same time, considering that we have multiple languages in our country, there were certain very interesting things which were done by CDAC in terms of multilingual computing. So CDAC is a Center for Development of Advanced Computing. It's a Government of India undertaking. And they have actually come up with different fonts in the different Indian languages. So there are different fonts in different Indian languages, and then based on the designs, there are multiple fonts of the same language as well. So they have the true type fonts, which are known as the TTF, and then they have the open font format, and they have Unicode support, which is why it can be used across different, and it becomes platform independent. It doesn't depend on the OS, it doesn't depend on the website or the browser, so it becomes platform independent. So there is a lot of Unicode support for the different Indian languages, the 22 official languages which we have. So CDAC is providing all these fonts, all this support. There are more than 8,000 fonts which they have prepared and created. And they have created a number of tools which actually have name translation from English to any vernacular Indian language. Then they have the software development kit for the Indian language. They have word processing systems like iLeap and LeapOffice. So these are important because subsequently, in the subsequent slides, we will see that in the context of India, it is not only the urban population which are fluent in English or are conversant in English. So if we have to think of the internet boom in India, we have to think about the large rural population which resides in India, and we have to also understand that a big portion of that population might be illiterate as well. So now if we look into the telecom scene in India, then if you look into this slide which you can see on screen, this is actually a report which is shared by TRAI, the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, and this is of 30th June 2015. So it is mostly the first 6 months of 2015. And you see that the total telephone subscribers in India is approximately near 1,000 million. So it is 980 million actually. And out of that, urban telephone subscribers is 562 million, and rural telephone subscribers the value is 417. So what I'm trying to draw your attention at is the urban telephone subscriber and the rural telephone subscribers are almost comparable. Now, this is not about internet. This is just a telephone subscribers we are talking about. But still, the rate at which the rural telephone subscribers have increased is actually stupendous. So, if we look at the bottom, we find that the broadband subscribers is 108 million. So, out of this total telephony subscribers of around 980 million, we have approximately 100 million who are using broadband. That means they are using internet. So that is approximately 10% of the total population who are using telephone subscriptions, which is not bad at all. And if we go to the next slide, we'll find that month-on-month increment between May and June is approximately nearly 4%. So that means that 4% of broadband subscribers have increased on a monthly basis. So you can understand that if this monthly increment goes on, then the number will go to a very, very high number in no time. So we have 105 million broadband subscribers, total broadband subscribers in May, and we have 109 total broadband subscribers in June. So that again indicates that how India is coping up with the new internet revolution which is happening in the country. And we have to understand that this boom cannot be sustained only by the urban subscribers. So we have to keep in mind that the urban and rural subscribers both are actually getting on with the internet boom which is happening in the country. And that is where CDAC and its ways of having natural language to different Indian languages, the English to the different vernacular languages, that is important. Below, we have Mobile Internet Vision Report 2017, and you will find that the mobile internet users is estimated to grow from 236 million in 2016 to 314 in 2017, which is 33% growth. Similarly, the internet users, and that is the total internet users, not only the mobile internet users, is 350 million as of today, or as of June 2015, and it is expected to grow 43% to 500 million in 2017. And only the 3G subscribers was 82 in 2014, and that will grow to 284, which is 246 times in 2017. So what does the future of internet have in India? The future of internet actually is increasing and expanding at a rate which is faster than the literacy rate in India. So we understand that mobile applications are going to be very important because it is difficult to have everyone up to speed and get literate to use the internet. So mobile applications use graphical interfaces. So a lot of graphical interfaces will be used for people to use them and to use them for their own advantage. Similarly, now we type and we give instructions by typing. Instead of that, in the future, we will have a lot of voice instructions for doing a lot of things within the mobile space. So this divide between the urban and rural space is actually breaking down, and this breaking down is happening just because internet is going everywhere. The mobile service providers, the telecom service providers are having cheap rates and having good infrastructure all over the country, and at the same time the handset makers are having vernacular keypads, having a lot of vernacular other applications, and all of these will actually make internet a more accessible tool to everyone in the country. I will show you a small video about a very interesting concept called the hole in the wall. This is actually gives certain idea about this rural or the illiterate mass of the country and how internet or the computer can actually help them get up to speed. So this is a concept which was conceptualized by Dr. Sugato Mitra. So he was the chief scientist at NIIT at that time, which was 1999. So what he did is actually his team had a hole in the in the partition wall in the NIT complex in Delhi. So they just installed a computer there. And the slum dwellers who were there, mostly children, who were illiterate and who had absolutely no idea what a computer is before that time, started picking up computers and started using them quite effectively. So he then did the same experiment at a number of places across the country. And what he came up with is a hypothesis where he says, and I'm reading it, the acquisition of basic computing skills by any set of children can be achieved through incidental learning, provided the learners are given access to a suitable computing facility with entertaining and motivating content and minimal human guidance. So this is very important because this is exactly what the smartphones, the mobile operators, the applications are giving. They are giving entertaining things at the hand of people who probably don't know how to read, but they know how to operate that because those are through basic motor functions.
It's not a question of what the internet will do to India, it's a question of what India will do to the internet. Children love a challenge. Learning how to operate the computer and learning how to use the internet is something that children can do anywhere. If you just put a computer in public, in an open space, then children in the age group of 6 to 12 will learn how to use it on their own, irrespective of what language they speak in, how much schooling they've done, and almost anything that you can measure. The first hole-in-the-wall computer was in New Delhi in 1999, and it was set up in a slum area. Within about 3 months, they learn almost everything there is, including downloading MP3s and graphic equalizers and videos. I asked this child, what is this character? And he didn't know that it was called Mickey Mouse because he couldn't read. He said it's a very nice game, it's a rat game. To him, Mickey Mouse was a friendly rat. India has always prized knowledge over many material things. All our entire philosophy is based on the fact that material things have lower value than knowledge.
What kind of job do you want to do?
So, computer engineer.
An engineer?
Computer engineer. Computer engineer.
All three of you, huh?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
We're moving from a world of have and have not to a world of know and know not. And that's going to be a very big difference in the way in which we deal with each other. The equalizing forces will have to change, hopefully from fighting to friendship.
So now if we think of how this new media, this internet, this digital revolution which has happened, how it can actually influence education in India. So as of now, as of today in 2015, we have 700 plus universities in India. We have 35,000 colleges, and in the age group between 18 to 24, which is actually the high education bracket, we have 27 million students in colleges in a total of 160 million. So between 18 to 24, we have approximately 160 million, and out of that, only 27 million go to higher education. So that is 17%. That is as per the census reports of 2011. The latest one which we have. There is a higher education goal which is called Vision 2030. So what is that goal? The goal is that by that time, that is 2030, India will be the largest population in the world in the higher education bracket of 18 to 24. There will be increased urbanization and income levels, and that will drive demand for higher education. There will be rapid industrialization as well, and so we will need incremental workforce at the level of 230 million by 2030. So these 230 million will have to be literate workforce, and it can't be only the urban spaces where you can get that population from. And India is potentially thought of as a prominent destination for research and development. So that is the vision which the government has for 2030. And the current situation is that we have 17% of population in that higher education bracket which are actually pursuing the higher education. So what can be done is we will be using a lot of these new media and internet and all these technologies for self-learning. So we can just go to Google, type whatever we want to have and get information, read them, learn from that. There have been and will be a lot of distance learning courses. There will be web lectures and online courses. There can be recorded ones. You can play it in your computer or in your applications. There can be learning via mobile apps. So there are a lot of mobile application-based learnings as well, which are coming up. And at the same time, within the classroom, the traditional classroom, with a teacher providing information, there can be a lot of interesting ways by which the teacher can introduce the concepts through videos, through audio programs, or through pictures, or through experiments using the internet and things like that. So to go from the current situation to the future, which is Vision 2030, we need to integrate these new media technologies in a lot of way so that we can go to a digital future. So if we want to sum up the discussion which we had, we have seen how the Indian computing trend had gone over for the last 6 decades, how the internet evolved all over the world in the last 6 decades or 7 decades. And there, at one point in time, these two actually merge. These two merge when we talk about mobile internet, when we talk about applications, when we talk about a lot of websites which are coming up, when we talk about how we use these different technologies, the different websites, the different mobile applications in our day-to-day life. So that is one part of it. But what is also important to understand is how the telecom industry is actually revolutionizing the entire Indian urban-rural divide. So with this internet boom, with this mobile telephony, we are actually trying to break this divide between the urban and rural. So it's the same service, it's the same tariffs or similar tariff, and we have the similar experiences in all parts of the country. That is the expectation. The thing which is required is to keep in mind that all of us in the rural space might not be literate. So we probably need to have a lot of innovations with respect to the mobile applications so that they are more graphical. CDAC is one organization which is doing a lot of this transformation from the English languages to the Indian languages. And then the smartphone industry is also coming up with vernacular keypads and things like that. Altogether, it will be a country where a lot of people will actually come up with the different types of internet applications and usage of those applications. And even if they are not literate in that sense, they will use it for their own advantage. And towards the future, we have a future of Vision 2030. This mobile, using this mobile and the different new media technologies, there will be a workforce which will be ready to take on and make India a more internet educated place.